Hey friends, so I wanted to expand upon the filler flowers that I did in my first demo. Because that one was 20 minutes long, I figured let's do a second video. So this will just be some additional filler flowers and just to show you some extra techniques for that. And then we'll do separate videos for the different flowers. So earlier I showed you, if you wanted to do little balls of gum paste and put them onto wires, they're great for little pops of fillers for sprays of flowers, but they can also be a really fun stylized center for a unique flower that you want to make on your own. But another one that I want to show you is what you would want to call if you were making a stephanotis flower, or if you wanted to make a jasmine to kind of fill in, another spray, or just to tuck in for, what we call filler, to fill in your kind of flower arrangements. So I want to show you a few different techniques to make this type of flower, and then also just some other little fun filler flowers, like, baby's breath, and tiny little buds that you can use to, say, stick onto flowers or stick onto the sides of a cake, or also to wire if you like. So I'm going to do these again with white, and then when I go in to make the different types of flowers, I'll use a different color. But this is the same gum paste medium that I used previously. And we're going to use the same foam. This one has a bit of an indent into it. You can find other foams that also have indents into them, or you can use one without an indent. I'll show you both ways. So I'm going to take a little bit of my gum paste and I'm going to roll it into a ball. This is the home base. And then either with a foam with an indent, any type of foam that you might have, I'm going to put just a little bit of cornstarch down. That's my flour. And then I'm going to press it just kind of into that indent. You can roll it a little bit, but it's really not, I'm not worried about how thin I can get this right now, but I just want to press it into that indent, and then I'm going to lift it away, and I'm kind of left with this little hat looking figure. From here I can take different types of cutters to create that jasmine or to the stephanotis. So I'm going to take this little cutter, place it over, and I'm going to cut that all the way through, and I'll show you after I release it from my cutter. That one won't do it. I'm just going to be very careful, poke it through, and I'm left with this type of very unique kind of funky shape. You can see it's kind of thick around the edges, and that's okay. That's what we want for the starting point. And then I'm going to take it and put it back on my foam. And before I start to frill out the edges, I'm going to wire this. So I'm going to take a small wire, 22 or 24 gauge wire. I'm going to hook the end like we did in the previous video, and then pinch. Put a little bit of glue on the end. And then I'm going to pick up my flower and I'm going to insert it through the center. And I want to make sure I can feel as I put the wire through. Just going to kind of string it like you've probably made garland or something as a child. But I'm going to push it to the top. And then I'm going to place this upside down on my foam. My cornstarch is down. I'm going to take a balling tool. I'm going to start to thin and extend the petals. And I'm moving it around, making sure that I don't get glue on my foam. Turn it right side up. And then you could leave it like this if you want, or you can go back and kind of pinch the edges. So with my thumb and first two fingers, I'm just going to kind of grab and pinch and just work my way around all 5 petals. And then once this is fully dried, I can go back and put a little dot of royal icing in the center, or a tiny little ball of different colored fondant or gum paste to hide where the wire is. So yes, you can see the wire right now, but I kind of squeeze the base a little bit. I'm going to let gravity help me by drying this upside down. So I'm going to kind of angle my wire a little bit and then put it into my foam and let it dry. You can also put this onto a drying rack that you might have purchased. You can find something that can help you, but we want to let these dry upside down until probably a day before we even want to look at them again. So that's one way. That's if you have the foam with the hole in it. If you don't have that, then you can still make these. And go back to home base. And for those of you that are just watching these videos for fun, you can do these with Play-Doh. You don't have to do these specifically out of gum paste, especially if you have some time on your hands, which sounds like we're all going to have some more time on our hands. I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to kind of make my own little hat that my foam created that had the hole in it. So nothing real fancy, but just something that has a bit of a flat edge and a bit of a nubbin in the inside. And you can take another cutter or even something different as long as it's big enough. I'll keep going with this one. I press down the same way, pull off my excess, carefully release. If you find your cutters are sticking, dip them in a little bit of the cornstarch. Put this back onto my foam. I'm going to go ahead and wire again to show you. Just the tiniest bit of glue. String it through. Let that hook kind of grab on. Pinch the bottom, and then just like previously, I'm going to go ahead and frill out my petals. The thinner I can get these, the more natural they look, because we're trying to emulate an actual flower in nature. So I can squeeze around that wire, but I can go back again and pinch, pinch. I'm not worrying about the center right now, because I can always go back and put a little bead of royal icing or an opposing color gum paste in there. I let these dry, and that is a wired stephanotis or jasmine flower. A couple last quick little filler flowers that I'm not going to wire. I'm going to use just a little bit of softer foam as compared to the compressed foam that we used just now. But this type of flower I can use to make little, I'll put them here so you can see, little tiny baby blossoms, baby's breath, cherry blossoms. Here's another flower that I've started to shape using the same cutter. But if it doesn't hold its shape in the foam, then we need to find something to give it that life. So here, basically, I've taken a little painter's palette, put a little cornstarch down, and I can let my flowers dry inside this if I want to give them a cup shape. So I'm going to take a little bit of my gum paste. I'm going to roll this out. You can roll this between two pieces of plastic. Some of you might still have your plastic piping bag. It's great to roll that out inside. It'll keep the gum paste from drying out too much. Here I'm just going to roll it on a Silpat, pretty thin. So we're thinner than a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to cut out, this is a plunger cutter, because I can cut it and then I can drop the petal out using the plunger. I'm going to drop it onto this little soft foam. I'm also going to cut out a smaller petal. And again, if you're worried that some of your cutters might stick, just dip them in a little bit of cornstarch. Get that to release. And now I want to go back and cup the flower, but I also want to go around each and every petal similar to what we did for the jasmine. So I'm just using the metal baller, and I've got this nice soft foam. So it allows me to push my petal into the foam, and it allows that cup shape to form. I think this is one of my first sets that I bought when I started really getting into gum paste work. And I think it was just this foam with 2 little plungers with a lid on it. And it was probably around $30 or $40. So I'm very protective of it, but I love it because it has that nice soft foam that allows me to get that cup shape. So if I'm doing baby's breath, I'm going to use this really small, beautiful, tiny little blossom, and then I can work my way up to different sizes. And these would be something that I wouldn't wire, but I would put on the sides of a cake, or if I've pre-made a bunch of bases on a wire, then I can attach these to a base. And what I'm referring to are something like this, really small, tiny little delicate stamen that if I wanted to, once these are dry, I can attach them to each other. That's if I want them to wire. But these need time to dry. So I can shape them first here in the soft foam. Give them a nice little cup shape. And press down using a little cornstarch as my flour. And then I would need to move them to something else to let them dry so I can keep making more of these little blossoms. So this is just a painter's palette. You can get them for $1 at the 99-cent store, or if you have a dry egg crate, or if you have spoons or something that you can use to dry your flowers. Let them sit and let them dry, and then you can go back once they're dry and you can start assembling a lot of your flowers. So all of these tiny little beautiful blossoms, they need some time to sit before I can do anything else to them. But if I want to do cherry blossoms, or if I want to do jasmines that don't have a wire, find something that will give them that cup shape that you're looking for, let them dry overnight, and then you can go back and start, making a little bit of royal icing to put into the centers, if that's what your desire, or make a bunch of some sort of flat, small, tiny little bases that these little flowers can attach to. But again, these have to dry, your flowers have to dry. So just another few types of filler flowers that you can make before you, or while I should say, make some filler flowers to go along with the type of bouquets that you might be putting onto your cake. And again, all different types of sculpted mediums. They don't have to end up looking exactly like a finished flower, but you want to think about, a way, to give the gum paste, the fondant, some life by cupping it, by rolling it out, by making really nice thin edges. So thank you for joining. And again, this was just an expansion on the filler flowers. We'll start doing some additional videos where it's just a rose, or just an anemone flower, or just a dahlia, things like that. But these little fillers, these are great things to do, especially when you have some free time and you need them to dry before you can go ahead and start putting together all your flowers. So if you have any questions, reach out. I hope everybody is safe, and talk to you soon.